And then we just cracked on.
Sounds like a good S&M session. Do you remember that meeting I told you about that was to be held on October the 12th that was cancelled between the heads of state of donor countries of arms to Ukraine
Oh
because
yeah.
the US pulled out?
Mm,
And we said that helping fatigue was setting in between the European countries.
mm, yeah.
Well, in less than 2 weeks later, Germany has said, fertig, finished, the end.
Mm, yes.
No more weapons for you.
Mm,
Germany will send the last of what it already has promised to Ukraine, but after that, they claim they just don't have any more. Uh, Bild newspaper said the Germans don't believe that Kiev will manage to launch an effective offensive anytime soon. You know, the numbers are depleted, and
mm,
Britain, on its part, believes that Ukraine will lose the war. According to the Daily Express, it seems that behind closed doors, top brass don't hold out much hope for Zelensky's plan for victory.
mm,
The Express said that a top general said the situation doesn't look good.
yeah.
It's serious. So helping fatigue may be setting in here too, if you
Mm,
read between the lines.
mm,
Okay. In the meantime, in Ukraine, press gangs are launching a new initiative to catch draft dodgers,
yeah.
invading bars, restaurants, and even a wedding ceremony to catch their men. Last Saturday, officers also checked documents of audience members of a stand-up comedian named Anton Timoshenko.
Yeah.
So that wasn't a laughing matter.
Yeah.
Also, they invaded shopping centres and a rock
Yeah.
concert
Mm.
looking for headbangers. There is talk more recently of conscripting women uh, to carry out duties on the front lines
Mm,
because they just don't have any more men, you know. And on the front lines, soldiers are refusing to follow orders
mm,
and fleeing their positions as their numbers are dwindling. Like I said,
yeah.
this was in El País in Spain, in the
Yeah.
newspaper El País. There are no replacements for soldiers in Kurakova, in the Donetsk region, and troops are retreating for lack of manpower. So all these advances of the Russians
Mm,
is because there's nobody there to defend. They're just going where they like.
yeah.
Now, in an interesting twist, if you like an interesting twist,
Okay.
North Korean soldiers were being kitted out in Russian uniforms.
Mm,
The Storm Corps, North Korean Storm Corps, uh, and they're ready to be deployed in Ukraine. Apparently, there's 1,500 North Korean
yeah.
soldiers that had gone to Russia.
Mm,
So, what do we make of that one? Is it that the Russian soldiers are being depleted as well? Is it that there's bad news on both sides? Is
that's
it
just,
that, because when you don't have any soldiers left, you
mm,
know, you don't have much of a war, I suppose.
no. Um, right. I mean, obviously, it's not as though the North Koreans have been going there in secret. In fact, Russia couldn't have made more of a big publicity statement about it if they'd have tried. Yeah.
Right.
Um, and North Korea as well. Okay, Kim Jong's moment in
Well,
the Thunder game, but
North Korea have denied it. Um, so,
well,
it's just what we see in the press.
yeah, maybe there's a game going on. Maybe it's true. Maybe Russia. I don't believe the Russians have denied it. I mean, it's I mean, war is a dirty and nasty business. I'm going to get to the core of it. The Ukrainians have been given so many resources, so much money. Now, we can argue age and equipment and everything else. Okay. They've still been given things to fight with, and they've not succeeded for whatever reasons. Okay. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the bravery of the Ukrainians. I don't agree.
One of the reasons might have been that general who
Yeah.
was on the bed with all that money.
Well, okay. I mean, the speculation, but needless to say, there's money and resources being sent there, and it evidently hasn't had any effect. I don't consider a war, they call it an investment. I don't consider war killing people an investment. I'm sorry. I'm not like that. I don't think any military person would call it an investment. Not with that score. They call it an investment in aircraft carriers and tanks and all that. They aren't used as an investment because it's a show as false, as opposed to, yeah, you have this equipment, you hope it never gets used so much. Yeah, for me, the whole thing is a mess. Okay, we can speculate. Yeah, okay, agree or disagree with what the Russians have done. You can't totally agree with them, but you can understand what's happened. I mean, we saw it coming years ago. I mean, I didn't know you years ago, but I said it. I was talking to a German about it. We could see it coming, or something coming. You, I'm afraid the Ukrainian senior level have proved that they're incapable of. Good job they don't have to organise any parties in Brunei. They seem inept to do it as well. A bit like the rest of the majority of the political class across the whole of Europe. Yeah, the Russians. I mean, the Russians at best probably holding on or holding their position. Probably at best, probably are winning. In effect, the fact they're still in the Ukraine, given the amount that's been sent there, is a win.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, they're suffering as well. I don't think I particularly want to be a Russian fighting for Ukraine because it's something I don't really believe in or could see the relevance of, unless we're talking about the Water Pole, yeah, which the Russians had pre-Obama, from what I can understand, where it started to get a bit sticky after 2014. The treatment of the White Russians there, okay, we can go on, we regurgitate all this. In essence, the Ukrainians are losing the war. The Russians are still there. They're not being driven out. They're going to make a few losses here and there. Anyone that's ever done any study of war sees that. I think if the Russians really wanted to make a big push, they would be doing it. Maybe that's where the North Koreans fit in. Yeah, just put lots and lots of bodies, have one final push, which sends a strong message to the rest of Europe or the rest of the world. Yeah. You've pushed the Russians into a corner where they have to side or make agreements with some, probably even states they consider rogue states as well. They don't have any choices. I mean, all Putin will see, North Koreans, is more bodies to take bullets. Yeah. He's a cold warrior.
It depends on what the deal is made between Russia and North Korea.
But again, yeah, that is it. I mean, we don't know. We're not party to that. Okay, it could be that it's high profile. It could be just scare tactics. We're going to have to either sue for peace or we're going to have a world war. I don't forget that would be in Putin's mindset. He will push people into making a decision one way or another.
I think to a certain extent he's calling out NATO.
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean.
Because, he's saying, look, I've got these guys here from North Korea. The West is already depleted of their arms because of Ukraine.
Yeah.
The UK for sure is depleted in the soldiers because nobody's wanting to enlist.
No.
And I don't think the US also is the same in the same situation.
Yeah.
And so basically Putin's saying, look, we've got these here. What you got?
Yep.
Dare you.
Well, that's it.
And of course, once you're finished with North Korea, you've got China.
And
you've got a million strong army there, just waiting, just eat your fingers on the triggers.
Well, size of armies doesn't matter. As armchair generals will say, real generals talk about logistics. China might be very, very big, but do they have the resources, the logistics, and the equipment to do it? That will be the telling question.
I think that if 1 million soldiers all of a sudden turned up on the borders of Ukraine, you know, then
Well,
just by smothering,
I,
of course they're not going to go there with a catapult.
no, no.
You
But
know,
okay,
they're gonna be armed, and
yeah, but they still have to be fed and watered,
yeah,
and this
well,
is
you
it.
just take over your enemy, and you got all your food and water there.
Well, scorched earth, if there's anything to take over. Russians invading, absolutely, Germany invading
Well,
Russia.
I'm not
The
there on the
French.
ground, so I don't exactly know about this, you know.
This is it. It's a lot of
So
unknowns. Yeah,
depends on where the supply lines come from. I
yeah,
mean,
exactly.
it could be that Russia would supply the food if they just take over the.
Well, the Russians originally did have a problem with logistics as well, which they seem to have resolved. But
Yeah.
yes,